What job exists because we are stupid? I had a temp job in a posh department store a few years ago. The escalator going down from floor 2 to floor 1 had to be taken out to be replaced, which took a month. Despite the many notices and the signs directing people to the lifts and stairs, a member of staff had to stand at the top of the closed escalator just to direct the public to the lifts and stairs. It broke people's brains, and it was worrying to see how many tried to get past the barriers or got pissed and shouty because there was no escalator. Like, holy shit, how did people cope before moving stairs were invented? Met a guy once. His job was putting dirt on potatoes. Somebody along the supply chain washed them pretty well by the time they got to the grocery. People didn't trust the clean potatoes, so one guy had to put dirt back on them to make them more authentic. My husband is a labor and employment attorney for a massive company and gives monthly seminars to everyone there to not send dick pics/sexually harass one another. And like clockwork, someone in that room does it within a couple weeks. On crowded nights, Disney Springs has employees working at crosswalks at the intersections from the overflow parking lots to tell people when they can cross. They're normal intersections that have lights telling you when you can cross. People just don't acknowledge them and will try to run across oncoming traffic. I'm a self-serve gas station attendant. Honestly, the only reason I'm here is to slap the emergency stop button if someone starts pumping gas outside their car/gas can. Oh, and shut off the pumps when I leave. I have a side gig doing data entry. I earn $25 /HR copying and pasting stuff from a web page into an Excel spreadsheet while doing some light formatting. Tier 1 ID support. Did you try turning it off and on again? Sure you did. Could you blow into the cable to make sure there is no dust in the connector? The cable was loose. How surprising. Have a good day. Traffic police in Baltimore. I was there this summer and the gridlock was atrocious. People push their way into the intersection. The light turns red and they are stuck there until the light is about to turn red in the opposite direction, at which point those people push their way into the intersection and the cycle perpetuates. During rush hour, they have police standing in the intersections not to direct traffic, though, simply to hold their hand up when the light turns red so that people don't push their way into the intersection. Basically, a human has to stand in traffic for hours just to tell the drivers what the lights mean. It was unbelievable. At my university we have a person whose job is to stand by the garbage area and make sure people dispose of their trash appropriately. Safety manager here. A big portion of my job is saying stuff like, please don't smoke near this flammable liquid, or other things most of us take for granted that people already know. Litter control personnel for public parks and beaches. Bouncers at bars and clubs. Drunk people can be the biggest idiots and you need someone there that can handle them so they don't ruin other people's good time. Gossip column journalists and paparazzi. I work in an aquarium and we have what I can best describe as floor guides, which are just staff that interact with people and share interesting info about the exhibits. Realistically, while that is part of the job, the main reason for these people being out there is to tell people to keep their hands out of the stingray and turtle tanks, because for some reason beyond my comprehension people don't naturally get this concept. At least once a day I hear, well, why can't I touch the stingrays? And so far my all-time favorite outcome of that question was a kid who said they have the word sting in their name. I have wanted to say that so many times, but am unable. The guys who install rubber padding around telephone and light poles so when we walk and text, we don't break our noses walking straight into them. Ticket companies that sell you tickets from ticket companies that sell you tickets. Fortnite coaches. Rag pikers and road garbage cleaners. It's service help desk. My job exists because of stupid, and let me give you a pro tip about computers. Computers don't break because they don't do what you tell them to. Computers break because they do exactly what you tell them to. First job out of college was to stand outside of Aldi's and help the people how to figure out to put the quarter in the slot to release the shopping cart, and then later how to put the chain back in to get their quarter back. I said F that. I stood there all day, baked out of my gourd. Televangelists. I hope I live to see the day people stop giving money to conmen who buy McMansions and private jets and claim they deserve it because God loves them. Computer repair for the most part. Probably half of all the things I had to repair were extremely silly mistakes that could have been avoided by simply reading. Whenever people get an error message, they panic and click it away. Most don't even read it, when reading it could already help you fix it. I remember one guy who said he didn't want to pay us to put a SIM card in his phone. I completely understand this, because it's overpriced as hell. But we still told him to make sure to take the nano SIM out of the holder it came in order for it to fit in his phone. 10 minutes later, he came back, because he ruined his phone trying to forcefully push the SIM card and the holder into the socket of his phone. Classroom support. I'm specifically thinking about my current engineering classes, where an electrical engineering professor preaches problem-solving skills above all, until he is confounded by a projector. People that get paid to write horoscopes. I work in a pool supplies store. My job is mostly to babysit people from the moment they enter the store until they leave, because nobody ever knows anything about how to take care of their pool, or what kind of equipment they have. My job is like, if there was a guy at the grocery store who would meet you and ask you what you need, and you'd tell him I dunno, it's a vegetable, and then he'd say okay, what kind of vegetable, and then you'd say I dunno, it's round. And he'd ask what color is it? And you'd say I'm not sure, gray, green, brown. And after going through all the potential vegetables that could be, it would turn out that you meant a watermelon, and he'd go get the watermelon for you, because you can't be trusted to grab a watermelon instead of a pumpkin. Used to be an emergency dispatcher. 90% of the calls were because people were stupid. Those parking guides at the Disney World parking lot. It takes a team of 10 people just to make sure we all park correctly, an activity we all do multiple times a day. Edit. I did this job for a year at Disney. Definitely a needed service. But people really lose their minds when they get to Disney. So many cars left running with doors open that people abandoned to get to the gate quicker. Insurance. No, you do not have the right of way because your turn signal was on. You have to look before backing up. 60 miles per hour is not an appropriate speed in a parking lot. No, the truck is not at fault. You cut him off. He couldn't see you. Yes, you're at fault for rear-ending that car. No, they didn't have a braking problem. You hit a parked car. You hit a pole. No, they didn't jump in front of you. Yes, we know what industrial paint is. No, your mother cannot be a character witness about how you must be telling the truth. As a doctor in the US, I'd say at least half of the disease I see on a daily basis is due to stupid decision making. In fact, probably 75% of the cardiac and 90% of the pulmonary floors would probably be empty if people didn't smoke. And these days it's becoming very common to see obesity hyperventilation syndrome. That is too fat to breathe. You know the guy that guides you onto the conveyor at the automatic car wash. That can be completely automated, but people can't aim their cars or put them in neutral. We have a guy at work whose sole purpose is to be present in the men's bathroom in order to ensure that the guys don't sit in a cubicle and pass time. I worked at a nightclub and got paid to stop people from opening up a fire exit. Even with me stood there, people would try to push past and open the door. I understand that most people were drunk, but I don't think they understood how a fire door worked. Maybe they thought Narnia was past it or something. I don't know. I was in Walmart last week. Somebody had knocked over a jar of tomato sauce. There was an employee standing there telling people to mind the mess, while somebody else went to get a mop. Anyone that picks up after people. The big one I can think of right now is shopping cart wranglers. Seriously, if people just put them back where they got them, they wouldn't have to pay these poor people to spend hours outside in the cold. I'm from MN, grabbing random carts from random patches of grass. One of my part-time jobs getting me through university is to stand by a locked gate with a big no exit during play sign on it during sports events to stop people trying to exit through it when a match is going on unless there's an emergency, because a huge 3-meter sign with massive letters on it is invisible, apparently. It's quite sweet though. I get a radio and a fancy jacket and get to speak to all sorts of people who come over to commiserate over my shit job. I worked in the public sector for 15 years and earned less per hour, so standing watching a football or rugby match and getting paid to pretty much do nothing else is quite nice. Oh, but at the end of the match I get to open the gate so that people can leave and not bunch up at the other exits, and people say thank you and see you at the next one. Far less stressful than being yelled at over the phone or abused by shitty managers in an open plan office.